What up, guys? So today we have a fencing chainsword run on the assault class. I am tackling some ruthless chaos missions to get ready for lethal, and yes, proven efficiency is very good, and I understand that it's very, very good. Also, armor, armor reinforcement, the armor perk where you can, non-finisher gun strikes refill your armor, very, very strong. I think assault's actually for a fencing chainsword build isn't that hard if you have strong gun strike damage. So I think, honestly, this was a pretty good setup to deal with chaos. And I can see why people enjoy the fencing. Here, I jump into this ruthless operation. Right away, it is a Hellbrute boss fight. Luckily, we do have a heavy here who is going to pick up the bulwark. I get a good stun there. The one thing it was kind of weird to get used to is, the ground slams that I've had with blocking were a bit stronger than the ground slams I have with the fencing chainsword. There, I throw a grenade for whatever reason. I think I was discombobulated from getting smacked in the head by a Hellbrute. But, but that said, the ground slams are still pretty good damage, and the stagger is very nice. And honestly, the fencing chainsword is still a very strong weapon. It's very fast. That was a good gun strike right there. You saw the damage, and then I was able to get even more damage on the board here. I was playing against this Hellbrute pretty well, which is nice. Honestly, it's very nice going from a Thunderhammer to a chainsword just to feel a little bit more quicker, because the Thunderhammer, a lot of those animations take a long time. And the chainsword is really easy to get like damage in and then, dodge, and right there's another nice gun strike. Yeah, here, basically I want to dodge out of that. The bulwark did have the perk where they can pick up somebody with the banner, which is nice. And I believe they had the contested health perk as well, but they used the banner to res our teammate there. Here is a ruthless operation where we took out the terminus enemy early, but now we have two teammates in mortal wound. And this is Obelisk. And I gotta say, I really enjoy this operation. But I was very excited to start battling chaos as assault because I know a lot of people struggle with it, and honestly, there's definitely some moments where I can understand. I mean, you will see in the operation where it's basically, the assault class has bad range damage, and sometimes you would like good range damage against chaos. Even though I think the heavy bolt pistol is a pretty reliable secondary weapon, it's really hard to match up to some of the good, primary weapons that are out there. Those are the team perks. Nothing too crazy. I think we had a pretty good setup here. But yes, okay, that ground slam's insane, by the way. I think I was knocked out of it last second or something. It looked very weird. But here's a very good showcase of just being aggressive with the chainsword pays off. I love the slams. The slams are very strong. And, Assault has some pretty good melee perks as well, so, that really helps out. Oh, this is this is a Sorcerer that we're getting. You know what helps with range damage with Chaos? A crack grenade. Boom, range damage, right? You just have to make sure you play your crack grenades perfect all the time. Because you only get 2 of them, so. But it absolutely shreds that Sorcerer there, which is very nice. Ruthless Chaos can definitely be a pain. I understand that. But here we have a teammate who's down. I get some good slams there. I get the gun strike. I should have parried that, but I think I was kind of trying to figure out my way around this fight because the minorists were kind of stacking up here. So ground. That's not really a ground slam, but it might be. But either way, that is a slam. Slam and 2 gun strikes are really good. I probably should have done it there. Got the parry there, but definitely should have parried the major because of the armor reinforcement. I probably could have got some good armor back from it. Regardless, gun striking for your armor back is definitely the way you want to go. But yeah, there, I have full armor. I get the slam. And I think, right there, I should have got that execution, but it's fine. My teammate gets it. And this is just a very swarmed fight. This is where I misplay. I throw the crack grenade, it hits a minor's enemy. I should have cleared out some minors before I went for the disc shaman. And look at that. Half of my health is gone, which is rough. Half of my health is gone. And I misplayed that gun strike. Should have done the parry. And I do get some nice slams here. I pretty much just tried my best to hold out until the heavy came back because I knew the heavy was going to, you know, come in with some heavy weaponry. It would be fine for us as a team here. But yeah, there, you know, the disc shamans when they're off camera, it's kind of hard to really predict where they're going to move. And yeah, I go down. This was rough. The bulwark was playing around my, you know, incapacitated body here, and wanted to, you know, they wanted to make sure that we get a room to like res me basically. The heavy goes for it, but yeah, there's just disc shaman shenanigans happening around, which is rough. And then the heavy goes down to 1, but they picked me up, so I gotta appreciate the heavy for that. But yeah, as soon as I get up here, I'm definitely not gonna let the same mistake. It is just okay. So when it comes to chaos, especially in high difficulties, getting your armor back is very key because of all the chip damage. So you really need to get your armor back as fast as possible. So I think fencing can kind of play a role in that. So I understand why people go with fencing for assault, because they're just trying to get their armor back as quick as possible. And I'm not 100% sure if blocking is at that point yet to be able to get your armor back as, like, honestly, look at that gun strike. That was overkill right there. The gun strikes, whenever Chaos Majors do hop into the gun strikes, it is very nice. It does a lot of damage. And I think part of that is because of the gun strike scaling in higher difficulties. So it's really hard for blocking to compete with that at the moment because blocking does not have higher difficulty damage support, basically. Like, gun strikes do extra damage in higher difficulties compared to lower difficulties. A lot of that is to contest for the fact that the enemies have higher health, right? But blocking still does not have that same benefit. So I can see blocking getting a little bit of a buff just to deal with lethal. But that said, if blocking gets any sort of buff, I think they're going to be very comparable. I think they're going to be there's going to be 2 really good options to build your characters around. And I have faith that is going to be the result for the most part. So here's just some... This is a Terminator that I am trying to shoot their head with the heavy bolt rifle. We actually got... All together, we were able to take that thing out pretty fast, which was nice. And we played around the pillars there for the Terminator. But yeah, this was a tough tempo run, but I think we did a pretty good job. See, like right there, when the majors play into the gun strike, they get absolutely shredded. It's really hard for me to recreate that with the jump pack slam at the moment with the chainsword. Even though I do think the Thunderhammer, the blocking Thunderhammer in lethal, their ground slam is, I think it's close to the damage you can get for gun strikes. And I mean purely just the ground slam with a blocking Thunderhammer can do almost as much damage as gun strikes, I believe. But that's without any blocking support. It's basically just, you know, slamming down. But regardless, I completely understand why people go with fencing because yes, the gun strike perk with assault is super strong. That is one thing I definitely wanted to get at, is the gun strikes. The gun strike extra damage for your team is simply just a very strong perk, which is nice. I don't think it should be like nerfed at all or anything. I think assault should have 2 ways to go about it. You know, I think the blocking Thunderhammer is a very viable weapon, and obviously the gun strikes right now are just outperforming it simply due to convenience factor, and it's easier to peak gun strike damage since you just need 1 perk for it. To peak out blocking damage, you need a couple blocks, and you know, it takes a bit to set up, which is fine. Right there's a gun strike from a perfect dodge, so you still have that option. Just sometimes with the chainsword, it's easier to get out of certain animations and such. But the Thunderhammer is just a little bit slower. But you know, you can still perfectly dodge just as well if you see certain attacks coming, and you know, it just takes a little bit to make blocking work as well as the fencing gun strike build on assault. But here we have the Sorcerer fight, and I gotta say, I'm really growing to enjoy this fight quite a bit. It is a fun boss fight. It's kind of like a boss fight, I guess. It's not like a real boss fight, but it does have like a nice gimmick of just shooting the orbs, and as long as you're good at taking out chaos, like look at those gun strikes. This is ruthless, going right into executionable status. Like, that's insane. It's very, very fun to take out chaos this way. I totally understand why everyone really enjoys the fencing option for chainsword with this build. or even just fencing in general. I think fencing Thunderhammer is probably fine, but there's something about the Chainsword that just feels a lot easier to use when it comes to, like, you know, getting in some melee attacks and getting in some parries. Like, mixing it up seems easier to do with the Chainsword than the Thunderhammer, but that's why I like the blocking Thunderhammer. Sometimes you just need that extra damage for a ground slam, and you know you're off. You're going to take out every Chaos you see. But obviously, when Chaos plays right into these gun strikes, it's just like there's not a lot that can compete with that in the game at the moment. That is a very, very powerful way to take out major enemies. But check this out. So since I went to I went into Mortal Wound earlier, I had 2 stims here for the boss fight. So I use 1 stim because I was hurt, and then here pick up my teammate, and then use the other stim to clear my Mortal Wound right in the middle of the boss fight. I had the 2 stims, but I used them as soon as I could, or as soon as the enemies gave me a reason to, because you know, we were getting some really good major executions there. And there I had a crack grenade. We saw what happened to the Sorcerer earlier, and it just takes out that enemy. There I had another crack grenade that was misthrown. So I guess I'm 50% good with my crack grenades at the moment. Probably should work on that, but I get the important ones, which is what matters. That was a good run. That was a ruthless run. I was playing Assault. I went down once, got rezzed, and I was able to save my teammates at the end there with the stims that I saved up from all the major executions, basically. Some good experience. Some good experience. Good damage. Good damage. All around, we played well as a team, I think. That was a good run. That's Ruthless Obelisk. Like that operation can get very sweaty. Almost 23, but I have a good video on their way about lethal assault. So that was a good fencing run. But I think I graduated to lethal as an assault player.